بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم وسخر لكم ما في السماوات وما في الأرض جميعا منه إن في ذلك لآية لقوم يتفكرون وسخر لكم الليل والنهار والشمس والقمر والنجوم مسخرات بأمره إن في ذلك لآية لقوم يعقلون.
Good evening, everyone, and welcome to Langkawi. And I want to say a special welcome to Ambong Ambong. To me, Langkawi is what sun, sea, mountains, the jungles, and if you come here in the daytime, the essence of all of that is we are surrounded by all of that at Ambong Ambong. And so I thought that this would be the most fitting place to have this event. I don't want to just write a normal book, a normal coffee table book, because that's already been done by other people, and I wasn't interested in doing that. But what I was interested in is to see whether we could see a collaboration or a convergence between the arts and the sciences. And that's where I turned to my dearest friends, and you see how lucky I am, what sort of friends I have, which is Muhammad Haji Saleh and Jailani. This is an amateur production. Notice the word production, but professional execution. And again, you'll see why later. So I would like to present to you Meniti Cakrawala, which actually embodies or encompasses or demonstrates the content of the book Cosmic Connection.
Bacalah Cakrawala yang berlakon di udara atau gugur bersama guru atau berdayung di sungai dan pasir kuala. Dengarlah syair yang didandangkan nyiur, sanja yang berpelamin dibarisi jeta dari jauh. Bacalah Bayu yang berkata-kata dengan bahasa sayu. Di bawahnya laut mendengar arahnya berkerut di kulit airnya.
All stars begin life in the same way. A cloud of dust and gas in interstellar space compresses under a gravitational pull to create a dense cloud called nebula. A nebula is composed mainly of hydrogen. Parts of this nebula collapses into smaller, even denser clumps when stars are born. Such a nebula is often referred to as stellar nurseries. Under gravitational contraction, the center of a clump of gas reaches a few million degrees centigrade. At this temperature, hydrogen nuclei fuse together to form helium nuclei. So by definition, in physics, a star is now born. It is a humongous ball of roiling gas. Why does a star shine? When hydrogen fuses to form helium, the reaction releases an enormous amount of energy. These rays push out against the gravitational contraction of the star until the star reaches a state of equilibrium. The star shines as the photons leave the star's surface and head straight out into space, straight into our eyes, straight into our telescopes as we now perceive its presence. The good news is the sun will continue to shine as it does right now for another 4 to 5 billion years before it actually runs out of hydrogen at the core. But when it does, with no outward pressure from nuclear reactions, now you see the core collapses under the mighty force of gravity. So you see, gravity is what rules the world. If you don't know that already, you should know now. Gravity rules the world. But then this collapse increases the temperature at the core again. And when the temperature reaches about 100 million degrees, helium, it fuses with other helium nuclei to create carbon and oxygen. Now you're seeing the connection. You know, all of us are made of carbon and we breathe oxygen. Now, while the interior creates carbon and oxygen, the outer layers separate from the inner parts and get ejected as what we call planetary nebula, and the star subsequently becomes a red giant. After this red giant phase, what happens next to a star is dramatically different and is full of drama. In higher mass stars, the temperature at the core arising from gravitational collapse can rise astronomically. So, you know, just now I talked about 100 million, now it's going up further. And the star can successively burn elements now heavier than carbon in the core, and also in the shells surrounding the core. This is where successively heavier elements are created.
Aku berdiri di bawah bintik makna. Pada belantara bintang ini ada percikan pada rimbunnya. Sekiranya aku bertelut, memeluk diam dan menyerah kepada cahayanya, aku dianugerahi sejambangan ibarat untuk membanding hidup daripada kios yang melayang. Kita mengutip kuntum, langit dan makna, apakah nafas, pohon dan makhluk di belakang nan indah. Cakrawala berhujan di muka bintang, merah, kuning pinang, mawar, kemungkinan menyadap hidup di celah batu dan gunung.
The creation of element continues for the star like our sun, and the core continues to collapse, and it collapses into a white dwarf. It continues up to the creation of iron atoms. Fusing silicon to iron takes more energy than it gives off. This means that the star is causing its own death by consuming more of the energy than it is generating from nuclear fusion. Suddenly, the star is no longer able to sustain equilibrium, and its core again collapses in on itself. In a split second, it blasts out its outer parts in a humongous gaseous cloud, sparking what is called a supernova. Supernova can briefly outshine entire galaxies and radiate more energy than our sun will in its entire lifetime. And what is left behind at the core is a ball of neutrons, thus the name neutron star. Additionally, the collapse produces a shock wave that can further induce fusion in the star's outer shells. These newly minted elements are blasted out in the explosion into interstellar space. So supernova are considered one of the original sources of the elements heavier than iron in the universe. This is important to know. Supernova seed the universe with matter that become the building blocks for Earth-like planets and for living beings like ourselves. The carbon in your cells, the iron in your blood, the gold in your jewelry can be traced back to a supernova some billions of years ago. In fact, supernova are thus essential for life. Without stars, we cannot exist. Stars have to die for us to live. Indeed, all living things on earth are made from star stuff.
Due to these connections, we include the moon and stars in our songs, poems, myths, and also dances. Our beloved Allahyarham Tan Sri P. Ramlee portrayed the moon and stars in many of his songs.
Malam bulan di pagar bintang, tambah seri cuaca malam, murni sungguh ciptaan Tuhan, bulan bintang lampu alam. Andai kata bintang menyepi, bulan tidak berseri, malam menjadi sunyi, tidak berseri lagi.
To continue, stars are not born in isolation. They exist in clusters we call galaxies.
We have been able to map the stars in the Milky Way. This intellectual, scientific, and technological feat is equivalent to a plankton mapping the vast Pacific Ocean. Galaxies are building blocks of the universe. From the distribution of galaxies, we can tell the structure of the universe. From the distribution of the galaxies, we can tell the universe is expanding. And it also tells us that the universe used to be infinitely small, which is how we found out that the Big Bang occurred. This expansion is still going on to this day, driven by a force, not gravity anymore, but dark energy.
In the universe, there are many galaxies. In the galaxies, rivers of stars sprinkle the darkness, low in streams of brilliance. Rivers of galaxies flowing toward us, but confronting and crashing against each other. We are given only a tiny flake of the universe. Many mysteries never leave the dark curtains. But as we watch, we obtain our place in the darkness.
The Langkawi National Observatory is situated very close to the equator, giving it access to celestial objects in both the northern and southern hemisphere skies. Having both the constellations of the Big Dipper in the north and the constellation of the Southern Cross in the south at the same time is a sight to behold. And meanwhile, being the northernmost observatory in Malaysia, Polaris is the northern star that can be clearly discerned from here. I have never seen Polaris from any other parts of Malaysia. So these are photographs taken by the staff of Langkawi. Yeah?
Okay, it's okay. Night pond. Come, look into his night pond. You can see where the stars come down to earth to cool their lights in these earthly waters. Bathe and play, sport in joy, till dawn returns to the sky in the pale morning. Its face lies quietly beside each other as two siblings who have at last found one another. Goodbye for tonight. Morning has returned again. We will wait for our light to brighten the dark waters when the evening returns.
Because of the closeness the human race feels with the sky and the cosmos, every religion has its own interpretation of cosmology. Of all of these celestial objects, the sun and the moon loom close and bright. Ramdi masuk.
From ancient times, Surya has been the object of worship. Emerging from the primordial waters, he sits on a lotus in a golden chariot drawn by 7 horses, representing the 7 colors of the rainbow, driven by his charioteer, Aruna. Surya is the maker of the day, the dispeller of darkness, the nourisher. The eye of the world, the witness of deeds, the one with 1,000 rays, the king of planets, but most of all, he is Mahapapahara, or the one who's able to remove delusion, misfortune, and flawed thinking, thus bringing his devotees to liberation.
The sun is a happy painter of the canvas of the days, drawing the faces from its palette of red, yellow, and ochre, so that we meet the morning with colors that stream from the sky and morning breath that flows from its light. The sun is a painter for whom we will sit still.
Walking in the dark, I spotted the moon in a little lake of the forest. I dished it out carefully so it might not break. And placed it in my pond for me to adore the perfect face that is only possible in a reflection. And there it stayed every night for me in the swamp of waters and reeds.
Mengapa mendusta seribu kata? Mengapa membisu seribu bahasa? Mungkinkah bulan merindukan kumbang? Dapatkah kumbang mencapai rembulan? Rindu katakan, rindu usahkah, malu karena asmara. Risau engkau, risau dek aku pun, maklum maksud tak sampai. Rindu hatimu, aku pun demikian. Rindu sudah nasib untung di badan. Rindu, rindu, rindu,
What did I say? What did I say? Didn't I say the best was yet to come? So I'm now going to hand you over to Amran. Amran? Oh, sorry, Amran.
Ladies and gentlemen, an important part of the journey this evening is the culinary journey. And it gives me great pleasure to introduce our co-collaborator for the evening, Chef Nuril Karim Razha of Jawi House in Penang.
Hello, good evening, everybody. Warm welcome to all the VIPs, Tuanku Intan, and also the Ambon Ambon staff. We have to think outside the box, or in this case, outside our planet, to get a bit of inspiration to kind of jive the team together. So just a little bit, the first course, like what Prof was mentioning about the supernova and how the gases burst, was a little bit what you saw with the egg yolk, that kind of thing. And then the main course is just elements of the earth. So you have the fish, which I believe looks like a bit like, batu kawi. If you go to Pulau Songsong, Langkawi, it's a special mineral that is deposited in the rocks over here that looks exactly very, very beautiful. And it's prehistorically used for stone art. So just simple things, nothing too gimmicky, because we still want the food to, connect to the people and also to be tasty. And later, the dessert will be a very simple, kind of layered, almost the concept of trifle with jelly and custard and local banana.
Ladies and gentlemen, I welcome to Ambon Ambon. I hope you enjoy with your food. How your food?
Okay.
Sedap? Alhamdulillah. Lepas ni boleh bawa kawan-kawan datang makan kat sini. Hari ni bila sudah makan, ayam mau nak jemput saudara untuk buat satu presentation. Mengenai artwork beliau. I terlebih dahulu forgot terima kasih pada Tengku Puteri kerana sudi datang malam ni. I tanpa membuang masa, amo nak gerak jaga menggoceh lidah. Kalau bikak tapo dibayar kulit, amo nak goceh dibayar kulit. Kalau bikak tapo dibayar romo, amo nak goceh dibayar romo. Hari ni siapa masuk dengan kita? Amo nak jemput saudara Jai untuk buat presentation.
The material intelligence of Malabula. Look at the behavior of pain. Interact with a variety of substances and stimuli in creating the elements of chance and chaos. Observe how the constant state of flux is formed by the living principle of materiality. The creation of the artwork is a form of visual conception analogous to the cosmic interpretation of the chaotic universe. The pain as dynamic, time-based physical material moves in the infinite openness of the metaphysical cosmic. The pain is in motion, flowing, crawling with a heavy burden of meaning, while dragging along the surface noises with debris of forms as it is stimulated by gravitational agitation, thickened by fluidity and fiction of vibration. The pain is diluted, fermented, and pressurized, creating an index of forces, of imagery imposed by the artist to resemble the mysterious topography of the moonscape. The pain is in pain. The pain is in labor, giving birth to Luna Mera. Thank you.
A legend of Langkawi tells a story about Mat Cincang and Mat Raya, two giants who were best of friends. The son of Mat Cincang and daughter of Mat Raya were in love and got married. However, during the wedding, Mat Raya became furious as he noticed the bridegroom eyeing another lady. This led to an argument and a fierce battle ensued between Mat Raya and Mat Cincang. They started hurling pots and pans and rocks towards each other. The gods were angry. They were unhappy with this altercation and struck both of them with lightning. Both were turned into stone. Today, the giants are represented by Mat Cincang and Gunung Raya. Now from here, we will take the astronomer's perspective of this myth. Now, where the broken pot fell, it is the village of Belanga Pecah, Ismail. Now, where the place where the gravy fell, that is where we have the place called Kwa, as believed by the locals. Now, this is the astronomer's perception. Now, where the rocks fell, they formed impact craters called Masuri rings. And the place where the wedding ring dropped is known as Pulau Tepor, which is just there if you see it in the daytime.
In the darkest shadow of the moon, Mahsuri's family sailed with the dark winds to Saturn, where they just might still find justice when the eyelids of the sun open. The unjust must suffer its injustice and learn the lessons of arrogance and powerlessness in the dark cave of Masuri curse. Thus, Langkawi days were obscured, eclipsed for 7 generations. On the sea, the hills, the paddy fields, and the fruit orchards. The harvest reap from an thoughtless king who ruled with envy and jealousy. Thank you so much.
The center. Is there a center where the stars gather, arranging themselves so that they may release sparks to the skies and earth? Is there a periphery that disperses and falls into an intangibility? Let me yet read the offerings of the night. For to be an inhabitant of the universe, I must also be an inhabitant of my consciousness.
بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم ألم تر أن الله يولج الليل في النهار ويولج النهار في الليل وسخر الشمس والقمر كل يجري إلى أجل مسمى وأن الله بما تعملون خبير الله الذي رفع السماوات بغير عمد ترونها ثم استوى على العرش وسخر الشمس والقمر كل يجري لأجل مسمى يدبر الأمر يفصل الآيات لعلكم بلقاء ربكم توقنون